Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, and it is the first Tuesday of the year. And as you all know, since October 2021, we are in partnership with the Massachusetts General Hospital Office of Equity and Community Health to bring to you your Healthy Java. Before we get started, as many of you may be aware, as I've saw very, it was trending on social media, we are aware of what happened to our brother DeMar last evening, who collapsed on the field in the middle of a game from cardiac arrest. And we are not necessarily addressing that today. This is your Healthy Java. But we had already had planned to talk with Coach Meg about goal setting. And one of the things that happens often in a new year is we set goals to be more healthy and to focus on our wellness. And in talking with Coach Meg a couple of seconds before we got started, I shared with her, and for those of you that follow me on my personal page, I shared with her that I put a post up this morning that said, Black men, we need to make our health and wellness a priority. That's the sexiest flex that you can really do, whether you're attracted to women, men, or both, or whatever. And so I was intentional about putting that there because there's a presumption that our athletes and our sportsmen and sportswomen are healthy. And in a case where someone like him is healthy and exercises and can suddenly go into cardiac arrest, we focus on health and wellness in this space because many of us aren't as healthy. I'll speak for me. I'll use I statements. I don't exercise. I don't eat the way I should. I don't sleep the way I should. And so how much more of a risk am I at dealing with that? And so we're going to focus on goal setting, but we're also going to have a real conversation that for Black and brown people, and this sort of just happened when Coach Meg and I were talking, how there's an added layer of stress and then how that stress plays on the body. And so I'm going to bring my guest in this morning. She is no stranger to the Java Cafe. We had the opportunity last year, a year ago today, basically, well, based on the first Tuesday, who was with us to talk about a new year and a new me or healthier me. And we're sort of continuing in that theme, but we wanted to talk today really about goal setting. And as I said before, when Coach Meg and I talked a few minutes before we started, we wound up landing on a topic of how issues of racism bring stress and then can often lead to not focusing on our goals. And for many, one or two of those goals are centered around health and wellness. And so, Coach Meg, I hope I did well at setting context. Please introduce yourself. Good morning to you. How are you doing this morning? And Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jimmy. It is just such a delight to be with you. I was looking forward to it all weekend. And I'm in a good place. I'm in a very good place. And I know that doesn't come without effort. So I'm grateful to be at an age and stage of, having a sense of abundance and being able to give to others who are on their way to a sense of abundance.
I love that. And I love how you intentionally named age and stage. As someone that recently crossed the threshold of 50, there's just something different. We get more into a coasting mode, not perfect, but we're a little, from the mistakes of our 20s. We thought we learned the lessons in the 30s. We thought they were perfected in the 40s. And now we're in 50 trying to get there. And so I just want to acknowledge that because that was helpful to me. Coach Meg, we were here last year talking about a new year, healthier me, and things like that. We wanted to have you come back and talk about, from a different perspective, about goal setting. And typically, as you know, someone that's a coach, goal setting in the new year often, I don't know if there's any percentage, but I would venture to say that maybe over 60% of those that publicly cite and state their goals, 60% probably have something to do with health and wellness. And when we talked this morning, as I mentioned, what happened to the football player, and I cited, Black men specifically, everybody needs to be healthy, but I am a Black man. We talked about, racism and stress and how that can contribute and distract away from focusing on goals. But then you talked about a little bit of how that stress can wear actually on the body. And then I named that there's the individual impact of that. And then there's a vicarious that we see, in the media. And so I'll take down and be quiet and just allow you to share with us your thoughts about goal setting, the impact of race and stress, and we'll just go there for now.
Thank you, Jimmy. And the first thing that comes to mind is I was at a conference in November, last November, and Jerome Adams, who was the U.S. Surgeon General, I think in the last round, and he's now back in his native Indiana, and he was talking about the health particulars of both Black and white women. And his take from the science is that the reason that, or at least an important reason, why there's higher rates of diabetes and heart disease and other chronic illnesses in the Black, I don't know about the brown population, but the Black population, probably it is both, is in good part because of the stress, the level of social stress that goes with the being not white.
Yes.
In this part of the world. And what I learned some years ago from a wonderful psychologist who became a molecular biologist. His name is Steve Cole. He's at UCLA, I believe. And he's showed that the gene pathway from stress to chronic disease, whatever chronic disease you're vulnerable to, that then leads to, bad health and decline and early death, goes through the immune system. So there's 3 pathways in the immune system that are changed. The genetic expression, the genes behave differently when stress is in your system. And 3 things happen. You have fewer immune globulins, so the antibodies, they're called IgG, which is your first line of defense for infection. The production of those antibodies goes down. The inflammatory biochemicals go up, and your pathway to stop viruses and the antiviral pathway, it goes down. And so stress immediately impacts your immune system, which then makes you vulnerable to everything else. And so starting with, okay, how can I not just manage the stress, but transform it into strength and growth? And that's a different way of looking at this. And I think when you're awake to this underlying, kind of like the brush fire that's always there, and realizing, wow, that's actually what's, a big part of what's going to, first, I don't feel good right now, and then I'm going to get sick later. So that's really important for all of us.
I thought it was important to really take this sort of look at the goal setting piece and health and wellness through, and you folks that are watching and you know that this is an authentic, organic space. If we're not, my pastor used to use this term, unaddressed issues have babies. And while you can come, Coach Meg, even if the incident didn't happen with Brother DeMar last night, and we came in and gave tips and tools and a PowerPoint, and we emailed it out, and people had an interactive app and whatnot. Awareness of what can be a huge deterrent on focusing on our goals and being healthier and well is the impact of the stress that comes from racism. And I'm going to try to say that again, as the people say, for those that are in the back. If we don't address the underlying issue of the stress that comes from the impact of racism, and I know I almost said it differently, but if we don't address that underlying issue, all the tips, tools, and tricks, along with the regular being a parent, then if you're a woman, or if you're part of the LGBTQ community, those sort of intersectional stressors, if you will. When you talked about being, I heard you say the word like intentional as sort of the underlying, then we can build upon the tips, tools, and tricks. I'll be quiet because this is something I believe that we're really tapping into something that's going to be helpful to folks. And you talked about being intentional of not just, I think you said, dealing with it, but even taking it to it, the intentionality of being aware.
Yeah, thank you. There's some wisdom from the Greek Stoics, the ancient philosophers, which is the obstacle is the way. And the obstacle is your way forward. And what that means is if you address the thing that's holding you back now, whatever that is, and that's, your internal state, right? Your reaction, your reactivity to the world, your inside world, whatever is happening. If you lean into that, its destiny, the destiny of stress is not to manage it. The destiny of stress is, and this is a word that psychologists use, but I'll use the word and then I'll try to explain it in different ways, is integration. So the stress is an unresolved energy state.
Yes.
Like if you know Beethoven's Fifth, you go da da da, and it's unresolved.
Yeah, it just
until you get to the da. Okay. Yes. Integration is the da to the da. It's the shift from tension to resolution. And the brain does that naturally, particularly in our sleep. So whatever race you are, whatever was stressful a year ago is likely less bothersome now, right? Like whatever made you really angry, because we are collectively all integrating and getting more grace, more wisdom, more insight.
Yes.
And so shifting from the unresolved, uncomfortable state to resolution is the path of our emotions. That is the destiny of our emotions, is to resolve. And now when you have a lot of this, especially when you're young, right? Because you eventually, one of the good reasons why being older, you have more equanimity and we're more calm because you've integrated more, partly your brain might not be working as well and responding, you might not notice the negative as much, but
yeah.
So I think when I say, think about what is the existential thing that you're dealing with that arouses you and makes you feel uncomfortable, that you need a drink or you need a cookie, or you reach for something to feel better. That's the path.
That is the.
And if you trust that if you lean in, and I can teach you all a little technique for doing this quickly, that's the path for our stress. And so then being healthy is giving you the energy, the vigor to be able to lean into what's unresolved and move it. And then from there, your natural, beautiful self just comes alive, whether it's on a football field or in a dance studio or in a computer program or whatever it is that gives you, joy and deep focus. And, that's our natural state. But you have to get some things out of the way to get there. So it's a different way of thinking about this. I got to get healthy. It's no, I want to shift my stress to more calm. And when I do that, then I will have a better life.
Doctor, everybody knows that when I get excited, I stutter a little bit, but that one right there. So one of the things that I heard was in a casual term, because I don't want folks to walk away with, when you said that it's integration, I know at first I had to catch myself from the negative that comes with it is what it is. And I have to accept it.
Acceptance. Yeah, that's step one.
That is step one. And you're saying that this is a whole different, like, being woke. And as we mentioned, post George Floyd, the reality, it's what a lot of us have lived it for decades, centuries. But I think in 2020, the reality just put it right there. And so there was acceptance on a lot of levels. And you're saying that this is a different perspective in which to look at becoming more healthy. And so the integration and I guess, would you agree that the handling of the stress, the awareness, I'm sorry, you just really got me open. And so when we integrate it, we accept it, and then where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Would you like me to take you through the steps?
Please.
They're all
please
documented in various models. And so the first is to name the sensation. And do your best to be as accurate as you can, because emotions are just little energy, pockets, right? And they don't come with a label, right? Like you can feel it, but like, what is this? It's this and it's that. So name it. Is it a little impatience? Does it have a little level of frustration? Is it a bit of disappointment? Is it all out like fury?
Yeah.
So give it a name, and then from there, accept it. It is a packet of energy that you are experiencing that comes from your, whatever is down there. came up from the deep, and there it is. And so and it's part of you, but it's like waving and saying, "Can you integrate me, please?"
Because it's always going to be there. It's going to be an external sort of piece that is always going to be there gnawing at you if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like a baby. It just wants you to say, "Hello, how are you?
Yep.
What do you need?
Yep.
How can I help you?" So you relate to your emotions like like they're a friend or a child, or like something you care about. So that's a different way of relating to our emotions, because we usually just wish they would friggin' get out of the way.
Yes.
Can you just leave me alone so I can
Yes.
have this, moment? Like,
Yep.
you have to like make all this noise and ruckus and all this. So it's the naming, and then it's the accepting. And the Buddhists have taught us that our open palms, hands up, has some way of triggering the pathways for acceptance in your brain, whatever those are. I mean, it's not, I don't know that it's well understood, but it's kind of cool. You can put your hands up and you can feel acceptance. Then the next thing is hands over your heart, which is compassion for yourself. There's a part of you suffering, and it really is suffering. Even if it is, the suffering's based on something that happened a long time ago, it's still suffering. And suffering is needs to feel safe and comforted. And so same thing that we do again with children and loved ones, but you do it to yourself. So that's the acceptance. Then from there you get curious. So who are you? Well, what's going on here? What is the lesson here? What could I learn? What is the potential of this? And if you bypass integration, the next step, and this comes from acceptance and commitment practice, it's a particular practice. The next step is to say, okay, I've got this emotional state, but I'm a bigger person than that, and I have values, things that are important to me in my best self, in my highest self, and so I'm going to live by those. So I'm going to honor this suffering, but for now, because I got to get back into work and life and family, um, what do I what do I want to do next? How can I be a good person? What can I do? So that's one way to go. And then if you want to, I can also take you through what the integration looks like. But those are some very straightforward steps that even up till that point will make you feel more peace with that emotion.
These are very I would say at first impression, easy. And some of the things that you are naming here, Coach Meg, we've talked about through the year. We do Mental Health Mondays. I've facilitated the last few Mental Health Mondays with my 5 components of health, which are physical, intellectual, and wellness, social, financial, and spiritual. And we're talking, folks grade themselves. Why did they give the grade? And then what are the steps to improve? And so what you're naming here, and just to review for folks that may be coming in late, we're talking about integrating the stress, specifically in the context of our goal setting, considering what we as Black and brown folks deal with in society. And so one of the first things is name the sensation. What are you feeling in the moment? Is it frustration? Are you just a little, fatigued because they were 5 minutes late? That type of thing. Then we have to accept it. And I use a simple term that the young people and some of us old heads say, it is what it is. Accept it and be the other term I've heard a lot, even with grief and mourning, Coach Meg, is sitting with it, being present,
being with it and being good to it, like being I mean, you can be with it like you're sitting next to somebody, or you can be with it like I care about this part of me that is not feeling good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then another sort of action piece is in doing this with yourself, maybe in meditation or just when you're breathing to kind of calm down, is like opening your palms. And there, from my Christian religious bringing, there is definitely sort of this universal belief of the palms being open, cupping them, accepting. And then the other thing is your hand over your heart, because it gives you, if I get this right, it helps you acknowledge what you're feeling and
so it actually this action, whether you do it, with somebody else or yourself, is thought to produce a chemical called oxytocin.
Yes.
In the brain, which makes you feel safe.
Yep.
And cared for. And that is the social chemical that bonds us, right? And so you do it to yourself instead of to somebody else. You actually give yourself a little boost of, I'm safe, I'm taking care of myself. This, this, I'm going to take care of this. It does matter to me. This feeling, which I may have been wishing away and avoiding and doing whatever, to get it, to try to like inject it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's part of me. And the next thing, which I didn't mention before, the next thing is also a sense of trust that this emotional experience is taking you somewhere better, which is the integration, that it's not wasted. I have a coaching project, which I volunteer for, with 28 Black and Asian leaders in a big police organization. And this is it's been going on for 2 years. And so I've been spending a lot of time being present.
Yes.
To the ongoing experience of racism. And it's hard.
Yes.
To be with. It's really hard to be with.
And
I'm not receiving it. I'm just witnessing it. It's really hard. It's heartbreaking. And my part of my role is to hold the place for, this isn't wasted.
Yes.
this is taking you somewhere. And I come at this from some experience, because as a woman leader, when I started my career in the UK, I finished my business degree at London Business School. I was really patronized by the English men. And I'm from Canada, and I was doing very well in business school in Canada, and I was not being patronized. And I was really shocked by it. And I lost 20 IQ points. I mean, I couldn't string a sentence together. Like, I was not used to these white guys thinking they were superior to me intellectually and whatever else. And so I lived through that. It's a while ago, and I've outgrown that, but I've outgrown it now.
Yes.
I can look back on that and I don't have any sting from it anymore. I know that I'm stronger than they will ever be, because I had to go through the experience of someone making me smaller and finding a deeper source within myself of being me and being large, being a force.
Yep.
And I got the gift of that. It wasn't easy. And I think it's much harder. Racism is much harder than what women deal with in terms of them being made small by men. But there is a similarity there. And so I get that. I feel as though it's my role to explain to people, you get the force of good and strength from this horrible stress. It's not wasted. It's not wasted.
I so agree, Coach Meg, because again, for those of you that saw the flyer and are tuning in, I thought y'all would talk about goal setting. We are setting a foundation for us to really ensure that when we get into a few minutes, we'll maybe discuss a few things, Coach Meg, about actual goal setting and keeping your promises to yourself. But even in that verbiage there, protecting ourselves and protecting our peace and protecting our space has become such a popular sort of trend, in this self-care space. And we have to, as Black and brown folks, which is the majority of this audience, this is the focus of the Office of Equity and Community Health at MGH, that really, for lack of better words, being real and honest and authentic, that there is a extra distraction and deterrent when it comes to Black and brown folks keeping their goals, their general life issues, but then compounded with that is the individual racism. And then what I named before, the vicarious of what we see in media, of what we, see what's going on, a few states southwest of us, the district. And so it is definitely, I love how you're basically setting a foundation that this could be applicable, not just for goal setting for 23, but life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, what we've been doing is just acknowledging that there's this context, this backdrop in each of our lives. I mean, we all have some kind of existential struggle that wakes us up at night, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's a human experience. Understanding that, and then I think then the compass, the direction you're setting for yourself is to get stronger,
yes,
and wiser and calmer and clearer. And that if you focus on processing your experience and doing better at that, I mean, and honestly, one of the best ways to integrate your experience is to go for a walk or a jog. If you want to feel better, like in 10, 15 minutes, you're one workout away from feeling better, always.
Coach.
And so if you focus on, I'm going to get stronger, wiser, calmer, clearer, and feel good, then what can you do that gives you that, even if you don't process the stress? And so I learned a long time ago, go move your body, dance, whatever, because that'll help. eating good food
Yes.
keeps your brain working well, keeps your mood stable. It's my friend Chris Palmer at McLean just released a book called Brain Energy, and the basic message is that what underlies, what's foundational to a lot of mental health issues, large or small, is metabolic health. Is your body moving? Is your circulation moving? Do you have blood that's light and clean? It's not full of butter and cheese and and,
Wait a
and
minute, Coach Meg. We just came off the holidays. We just came
it's
off
full of
holidays.
carrots and yeah. So the good thing is that good food gives you energy. Good exercise gives you energy. Those two things, you can always rely on them to help you feel a little better. Drinking a glass of water. So health is actually is the source of vitality that allows you to grow yourself so you can be bigger, better, stronger, calmer.
Coach Meg, you answered, and I'm going to ask you to reiterate it and go a little bit deeper based on what you just said. And I said before we started, I said to some, this may be elementary, and we keep reiterating it on the show and social media. But with what you just named, why is it so important that Black and brown folks specifically, being aware of this, make the intentionality of their health and wellness a priority? Maybe I didn't frame that exactly right in an order of words, but what is your response to the fact that, given it what you just said, understanding that it does impact our time, things that we go through in the healthcare system, from the front desk and things like that, that's real. But can you just talk for a couple of seconds about, given what you said, why health and wellness has to be a priority?
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you another question that I think you're going to really dive into.
Well, so there's another population, and some of your listeners might be in this one too, which is people who have chronic pain.
Yes. Yeah.
Or fibromyalgia, or some where they just wake up feeling like crap all the time, right? Yep. And we've done studies of coaching in that population, which basically helps people focus on their well-being, their wellness, their well-being, and it's the best treatment. Clearly pain meds help, but your well-being is your best treatment for chronic pain. If you think about racism as chronic pain of a different kind, and it's a different kind of pain, but it is pain and it's chronic.
Yes.
And similarly, in order to be able to get to a good baseline and just be functioning normally, you have to you actually need more wellness or well-being than folks who don't have that. So that's why, that's the gift of being young, is that you feel good, you've got plenty of energy, your strength, and so you might not make your wellness a priority because you're young. You got wellness because you're young, right? But and the same thing is with aging, is you have to work harder. So just to feel good every day requires an intentional effort to do the things that will make you feel better and lift you up to a good place. And so it's a really important priority, but it isn't just for its own sake, and it's not because your doctor's telling you or your spouse is telling you or your kids are telling you. It's really for you to feel better.
Can I ask this other question? Because Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley talks about Black joy being a form of resistance. Little far-fetched here, but I just want to get your thoughts. Is being healthy and well almost a form for Black and brown folks? Is it almost an increased form of resistance?
Well, let's just unpack that a little, because resistance is there when we feel like people are trying to control us, and we resist being controlled. Okay, so that's the phenomenon. Yes. You're trying to control me. And we all walk around trying to do that. Look at social media. Everybody's yelling at everybody. I mean, I'm trying to control you by saying what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So it's right. So the first step is to realize that they're not controlling you. You're in control of yourself. And so I don't want to just say, okay, you have to resist because you're being controlled. The truth is, you are in control of what you do. And so I just want to go after that because you don't need to resist. And actually, that's probably the biggest growth opportunity, is to realize that the normal order of humans treating humans is wanting them to get better or do better. And so we assert, you do this, please do that, don't do that, right? But the truth is that we don't have to be controlled by us, our sense that other people are controlling us. So resistance is an earlier, it's a less mature reaction. And once you realize, I don't have to resist, I can be myself, then you have freed yourself from feeling like you're being controlled. And that's the real opportunity. And it's like, and I can, as a woman, when men would say things that were like, you'll never do that, or that, that's not your place to do that. You can say, oh, well, I feel controlled. Then you can say, well, no, that's just that other person's perspective. That isn't actually the truth. And I am not, I'm a free person. I can think what I want. I can feel what I want. I can do what I want. So I just want to, resistance is the thing you do when you're a teenager and you are resisting your parents and your teachers, right? And eventually we want to grow into being full standing people that don't feel that. It's a growth opportunity, really important one. And then from there, um, in my lifetime, being healthy wasn't cool. When I was like weird, because when I was 17, 18, I was jogging, I was getting enough sleep, I didn't step all night. Like I just never,
Did you say you didn't step all night?
I just didn't. And I just wasn't cool. Like I was really not cool. It wasn't cool. It was cool to get drunk in college. It was cool to try drugs. It was cool to eat
Eat
pizza.
what you
It
want.
was
Yeah.
cool, and gosh, I think we're shifting now, especially with the pandemic, to recognizing that being unhealthy isn't cool. That's okay. So that's being in touch with like what's fashionable, and that's social control.
Yeah.
Fashion is
Yes, yes, yeah,
social control, but I like to be cool.
yeah.
I like to, because you get a, it's fun being a cool person, right? And being cool. And so we all have to kind of collectively say, okay, let's make doing the healthy thing much of the time like the cool thing. And that
Yes.
is a form of rebellion.
We're okay.
But it doesn't have to, I think rebellion only gets you so far. In
Yes.
the end, it only takes you because you're rebelling against something. At some point, you got to do it because it's you and you want it, and that you're standing on your own feet, and that you don't care whether they're trying to control you. It doesn't touch you. You're just being a great person. And when you get to that place, people don't push you around.
There
If
is.
you're not vulnerable, they don't push you around. That's the predator. Humans are predators, like animals.
Mhm, mhm.
We are predators when we sense weakness. And so as long as you're in a state of vulnerability and rebelling, you're gonna like trigger the predatory
Yes, yes, yes.
thing, which happens to be, more related to the male gender than the female gender. But
Yep.
that if you're not vulnerable, people are not gonna try to control you. So getting stronger, getting healthier, it's all for you. It's all for you.
It is so, and it goes back to the things that we hear, and we've said it before. You're no good to anyone else unless you take care of yourself. There's the airplane, what do you call it? The oxygen
Yeah.
example. And so I really, though not clearly articulated, I want to back up a little bit and say, one, I was intentional about asking your perspective, and thank you for helping us to look at a couple of things in a different way. One, this integration of stress, and two, that, you know, and we both are clear on the Congresswoman's intention in mind in saying that being healthy is a form of resistance. But I think you giving the context to resistance and rebellion, again, words matter, the lens in which we view the world and ourselves through, those nuggets that you put out there are paramount to achieving the goals that we set, not just for 23,
Right.
but
Right.
for life. Because if, Coach Meg, we accomplish this from year to year, from week to week, from month to month, from hour to hour, day to day, minute to minute, no matter what the goal is, if we get a little distracted and we adapt this integration, we're talking a lot about, you know, in the context of racism today, but these, we did get a lot of tools, tips, and tricks to focus on ourselves, make health and wellness a priority so we can grow and be our, and there's, I don't know if you know the brand, but be our best self.
Yeah.
And so that is not so much resistance and rebellion as it is, and you know, we try to stick to our word, but it's wellness. It's life. For lack of better words, it's life, or what life should
Can
be,
be. Yeah.
can be, can be.
Yeah. Yeah. So resistance is a form of energy that we think we need in order to push ourselves, right? Um, but it's not coming from within in a deep. It's not deep enough. The deeper is just think about some of the powerful Black leaders in our history. They had power in their voices. Um, they had strength. They were above resisting. They were building something new. They were making something new. Resistance is like, I'm resisting this force. Building is building above it and getting above it.
Come,
Yeah.
sorry.
And so I just want everybody to know that if you live your stress well, you acknowledge it's rough and you just do some basics, even if it's just exercise and being in nature and doing whatever it is that makes you feel better. The stress will integrate you. It'll be less a year from now and even less a year from then. And you will be more of who you are. You're bigger than resistance. You're much bigger.
The Coach Meg, you're preaching. And if Dr. Lawbury was here, he would say, "Uh-oh," because it's I think I've studied the most in the past 2.5 years today than I've done this whole time. The foundation that you laid today, again, is applicable to anything.
Yeah.
And you know, we didn't go into SMART goals. We didn't go into naming it, but there was an element of giving ourselves and to some extent others grace, but morally to ourselves. If we could just talk about that a little bit, because with what we understand, the foundation laid about this big macro world, well, yeah, well, United States, I don't know, issue that impacts us and stress us, that's going to be a paradigm shift for many. And so how do we apply grace when we fall short of this particular goal and looking at, you know, life and ourselves through this different lens? How do we apply grace and still give grace to others that perpetuate some of the stressors?
Yeah. So grace, I love the word grace. This sense of being strong within and gentle without, right? You sort of gracefully move throughout the world. And so the strength is there. That's part of it. It's the gentleness, how do I be gentle with myself? One way, it is important to start new habits that
Yes.
And what we've been doing today is to acknowledge that the mindset has to shift before the habits come. And that's what we've been doing, is like, what's my state of mind and what's my approach to this? And, what is it that I'm really like, what is it that I'm really trying to do? And what's going to make the biggest difference? And then how do you do the habit? I have a good example. I have almost much of my life done like 10-15 minutes of stretches on the floor, and for some reason in the last couple of years I got away from it. I don't know why, but I was like, oh my gosh, my back, all kinds of things were happening. And so a week ago I made myself, and it was not easy because I haven't been doing it enough. And today I did it for like the 8th time, and it started to feel better. And I realized, okay, this is how I make myself better. I commit to this 15 minutes every day after working out. I do have to do it early in the day, because if I don't correct the imbalance early. And so, yeah, so you start a habit and you start doing it. And the grace is from realizing that, you get distracted, and it's, if you imagine it like an experiment, like I just did this and it worked or it didn't work, and that my focus is not looking good, but getting better, then everything I do, I'm getting better. Okay, if I missed a day, okay, I now understand what was most valuable about this, so I'll do it. I'll start again tomorrow. So it's really being, not tying your whole self-worth to what happened. Just like it's not like you didn't just become a loser because you skipped a day, or no. You're just a human being, doing your best with what you have. And tomorrow, and this moment's a new moment. You can get up again and experiment again. So it's this lighter touch, right, with yourself. And the research on self-compassion, this is less a compassionate approach, giving yourself grace. That works better as a motivator than the stick.
Yeah.
You idiot, do this. How come you're not doing this? Like, that doesn't work very well. It only works, it's like resistance. It only works up to a point, and then it starts to fail.
Because that's reactionary. I'm sorry. That's reactionary, and it's not proactive. And so, if I hear you correctly, do our best to develop habits for change. And when we even get away from a habit, don't beat ourselves up. And if we miss a day, that doesn't mean that you quit and it's over. You missed that day.
Yeah.
Or we
yeah.
That's a lot of
start
grace.
Again. Yeah.
Start again. And then if you miss that day, name the sensation, how you feel. Accept it. It is what it was. Open your hands and your heart to receive that you want to get back here. I'm curious. And what is the lesson here that I need to do it in the morning instead of the evening? What are the action steps I can take? What can I do next? And trust the process. Oh my goodness. Coach Meg, this was not your traditional, we put up a PowerPoint, SMART goals, measurable, blah, 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 blah. This, I think, taking this time to do a deeper dive into because we went with this subject because we know so often that folks fall off February 1st, March 15th. And so for a lot of folks, I believe addressing these things, integrating the stresses of life into our goal setting plan is going to help us accomplish more of those goals. And hopefully one of which, and I got to go back and clip out the importance, one of which is being more healthy and well.
Yeah. Yeah. That is actually the resource. The health is your resource to, get stronger or better, calmer and all that, but really to enjoy life. Enjoy life. I mean, you have to have energy to enjoy, right?
Yes.
You have to actually engage in life. You have to do things,
have good mobility, have the right
to be able to move, you have to be able to think, you need to have a clear brain, so your health is I mean, it's so we hear this all the time, but truly, I mean, if you think about it, it's the cells in your body. It's what makes up your body. And whatever you eat is the fuel for the cells. And so if you give those cells good fuel, they will say, great. and you'll feel better. You'll sleep better. So, you're building your body every day with how you move it,
Yep.
and what you eat.
What you consume and put
And
in.
if you really, and your taste buds kind of get in the way.
Taste buds, preferences,
Like, oh, I don't like broccoli.
texture.
But the fact is that eventually you realize the food that makes you feel energetic, feel good, not just taste good, but feel good, like
Yeah.
2 hours from now, is going to make you feel better at the end of the day. And you're going to actually have more energy to do whatever you love to do. And so health is a beautiful thing.
Health is a beautiful thing. And it's true, Coach Mick. I'll just share and I'll let you go that the last, I don't know if you heard of this young man by the name of Dr. Carl Donaldson. And even to your point about the metabolism, he really takes a mixture of Eastern medicine called Qigong. I may be saying that wrong. And he talks about, issues around maybe mental health and other things. If you really dig down to the root of it, it's metabolic. It's chemistry and whatnot, and how eating can inform that, and sleeping and whatnot. So thank you from a Western perspective, mixing that with the Eastern, because
Mhm.
that piece about eating right. I'll just get to my point is I've started consuming more kale, spinach, arugula, putting some cranberries and almonds in the salad, trying to eat less white rice, quinoa. Dr. Carl has me eating bison, as a blood builder, regular, rather than hamburger. He go get you some bison, and I'm getting. My mother will appreciate this. I'm going to get back to eating liver once a month. But I'm a living witness that I do feel sort of a change and not as heavy, and so I'm a witness to that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Coach Meg, I appreciate you so much, and with your availability, I don't want it to be a year before we have you come back, and so we hopefully will get you to come back soon and check in. And if at any point you want to share something or whatever, you're more than welcome to come. It doesn't have to be on the first or third Tuesday either. But I really appreciate this. And I think folks that go and watch this after, as many do, are going to get a lot of nuggets, what I call nuggets from this, of just how to approach being better, being there better. This away from goals of 23, the goal of being healthy and growing to enjoy life, I think, is the umbrella of all the goals that we set in this time of
And
year.
it's really possible.
And it is possible.
It is possible, and it's worth it.
It-
And all of this suffering is not wasted.
It is possible. It's worth it. And what was the last part?
All this suffering is worth it.
It's worth it.
When you transform it into the bigger, better you, you'll realize that was part of the
Process.
Yeah.
Coach Meg, you're about to dip into a little of the Pentecostal preacher in me, so I'm going to get you off my screen. I really appreciate you so much, and health, wealth, in physical and mental space, in your career and everything your way this year, Coach Meg. And anytime you want to come back, and we might reach out to you before you reach out to us, you are more than welcome to. Thank you so much for today's session.
You're welcome, Jimmy. It's really a delight to be with you. Thank you for being you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again. I'm going to get you off of here. I'm going to go pay some bills, but Coach Meg, we'll be in touch. Thank you. Everyone, that was our wonderful Coach Meg from Massachusetts General Hospital. And yes, for those of you that watch after, share this with some folks. And I don't have my flyers queued up in here, the MGH one. So give me a couple of seconds. Share this with folks that really need to hear that piece where she talked about the underlying root of the impact of race. I mean, that thing there was crazy. We're going to get ready to wrap up. I just wanted to make you all aware that tomorrow morning we have an exclusive interview with our good friend and brother, member of the Java fam, charter member Quincy Roberts is coming in with his new staff at the mayor's office of LGBTQ advancement, Denasia Yancey, Candace Nguyen, and also Julianne Lee. Those are his staff members. This is their first public interview, community conversation since being in those roles outside of our brother Quincy. So they're coming in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then on Thursday, we are going to wrap up the week with the conversation. And I just need to get the flyer. There we go. I think this is the right one. We are wrapping up the week with the conversation with the young man that had a interesting experience with the Carmen's Union, which is the union for a lot of the T drivers. I have the video. I will be sharing it in the next couple of days. We'll view pieces of it when he comes on Thursday. But brother Armani Marsman is coming in on Thursday at 9 a.m. to talk about his experience with the Carmen's Union. I'll be honest with you. I had a young lady reach out to me over the last couple of weeks, but it was inbox and we played some tag. She wants to raise the issue about what women and Black women are dealing with in the unions. And so while unions are a good thing for workers' rights, we need to ensure that there's equity across the board. And I'll just leave that there. So that will be taking place on Thursday. And speaking of Thursday, please save the date because next Thursday, July 12th, 2023, for her first community conversation as being the first woman and member of the LGBTQ community to be elected as the governor of Massachusetts, the Honorable Governor Maura Healey will be with us next Thursday at 9 a.m. on January 12th. So save that date. That's it for me today. Thank you for joining us for your Healthy Java. We will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. With the staff from the mayor's office of LGBTQ advancement. Also, I talked to brother ST that was going to be with us yesterday. Something happened. You all will chuckle a little bit. He's coming with us we moved his date to next Tuesday for Testimony Tuesday. And when I tell you all, this brother has been given something from God about how to handle grief. I talked to him last night, and this is going to wind up being a series. And, well, I won't put it out there yet. But anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody. And